Have you guys heard about the economy? I'm sure you have, because everybody seems to think that the economy is tanking and is going in the wrong direction. Well, I would like to cover a little story that might make you guys feel a little bit better about things. This is from the Wall Street Journal, which historically is not exactly what I would call the best, but there's some good news. Cooling July inflation sets stage for Fed September rate cut. Now, for any of my fellow people in your 30s looking to buy housing or get a new apartment, this is great news for all of you. This is actually just great news in general. But I don't want to be the standard mainstream media blah 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 guy, but it seems like the mainstream media doesn't really want to focus on this too much because it's not the doom and gloom, so it doesn't sell, it doesn't get the clicks. So let's unpack this together. Inflation extend. Oh wow, okay. I'm having a hard time reading today. Inflation extended a run of cooler reading in July, sealing the case for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates at its next meeting next month. Oh, wow. The sad part is that, like, I read pretty much all the way down to here just to kind of get an idea of what the article was saying. So, yeah, this was with me pre-reading. The Consumer Price Index rose 2.9 from a year earlier. The Labor Department on Wednesday, the lowest reading said Wednesday. Since 2001, oh my God, since 2021. Wow, this is, I apologize. Okay, I'm going to do something that I don't like doing, but apparently I have to help myself here. The Consumer Price Index rose 2.9% from a year earlier, the Labor Department said on Wednesday. The lowest reading since 2021 and slightly below economists' expectations of 3%. Core inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy items, was 3.2%, also a 3-year low. That kind of flies in the face of everybody talking about how these energy prices are literally the highest they've ever seen. Again, I don't. If this is all coming down, then we should be seeing prices coming down. Again, I'm not an economist. I'm just a guy living in the economy. A sustained and broad inflation slowdown provides the Fed with greater latitude to focus on shoring up any potential weaknesses in the labor market. The data I change how I say it. The data were very encouraging and should give the Feds lots of confidence to start easing the process. Chief economist said Kathy Bosjan. I'm not even. Markets reacted in muted fashion, a sign that investors have already moved on from worrying about inflation to fretting about the jobs market. Again, we have record employment, but yeah, let's move on to the jobs market. I love how they're doing this thing where they're anticipating cuts in jobs. Kind of weird how the guys who set the value of these companies are the ones that are anticipating cuts in labor. But, again. Major stock indexes edged higher while Treasury yields moved lower after initially climbing. Wednesday's report wasn't perfect. The cost of housing rose at a faster pace than it did in June. Still broad improvement in other categories from used cars to medical care. That's good. Was enough to offset one setback. Yeah, again, housing. But I'm just going to come at it from, the layman's standpoint where, again, we would like to see houses that are cheaper, and we would like to see interest rates that, are easier to obtain or to keep up with, because from my understanding, it's literally choking out the market. So, again, I'm an expert. After raising rates, you know what? I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Anytime I see something buffering like that, especially like a pop-up ad, it kind of worries me. All right. After raising rates in July 2023 to their highest level in 2 decades, Fed officials have spent the year focused on when to start lowering them. A potential June cut was derailed in April after inflation turned upwards. But now, a rate cut is on track both because of better inflation readings and signs that the labor market might weaken undesirably in the months ahead. The unemployment rate rose to 4.3% in July from 3.7% at the beginning of the year, reflecting tepid hiring even though layoffs have remained low for now. It's, again, I hate economists because they really are just like, oh, well, you know, these people's lives might get ruined, but my stock index might go down. Number bad. Instead of, you know, potentially just being like, yeah, these people might lose their livelihoods. Oopsie! As a result, the debate at the Fed's... Oh, okay. Yeah. At the Fed September meeting would center on whether to cut rates by a traditional quarter point or a larger point. Half point. Oh boy. For anybody that was like, oh, it's going to go back to 3%. Well... hate to throw cold water on that. Wednesday's inflation data won't resolve the debate, which instead will sharpen by coming indicators of job market conditions, including weekly filings of unemployment benefits and August payroll report, which is due on September 6th. September 6th, 17th, and 18th is when they're meeting on this. That was kind of the most important thing. The rest of this is just kind of boring. Again, really doing a great job. Do you guys care about any of that? Because I'm pretty sure that we got the key factor in here. We'll even do that. Inflation is moving lower, but only slowly now. Again, good news, but kind of good news. Again, 17th and 18th, that's kind of an idea of when we might get our rate cut. With a rate cut widely expected, attention at that meeting will shift to whether the decision to cut rates is unanimous, as well as how much officials expect to lower rates at their last 2 meetings of the year in November and December. Great. New economic projections released next month will provide clues around their latest thinking. It has nothing to do with who could possibly be, in the office of the presidency. That has absolutely nothing to do with this. The cost of housing, or at least how it is measured by the Labor Department, has remained a nagging problem. No shit. Literally, like, anybody within my age demographic, even, like, we'll go 25 to 40, we're just getting just so screwed by this. And again, love how, think of the children. Like, that was like the 90s, like, mentality, and all of a sudden it's like, well, your children are grown up and you're blaming us for ruining the economy without looking in a mirror. It's kind of fun. Because only a minority of leases turn over each year. Sorry, my brain went faster than my mouth. It's been happening like this entire video. Changes in market rents are reflected in inflation with a lag. Yeah, I mean, again, I got friends moving and the rent is just, it's insane. To quote, I forgot his name, but he was that weird dude from New York. The rent is too damn high. Well, again, he ain't wrong. As a result, economists have expected housing inflation to come down slowly, but not as slowly as has actually occurred. Oh, so it was going slower than what they thought, and they thought it would... Okay. A trend that was reinforced Wednesday following an encouraging reading last month. The Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the personal consumption expenditures, it's almost, or the PCE. I'm pretty sure that's what Home Depot's. They're totally reading that, but they're just doing it in-house, and then they're just like, oh, you know what? People are doing bad. It has nothing to do with Amazon, chipping into our market share. It has nothing to do with that, It has nothing to do with other hardware stores are actually seeing, higher profits. It has nothing to do with your business practices or your shitty lumber or, any of that. The fact that half the time I go there, you guys are selling an item at markup. So, again, I'm just a consumer. The Fed's okay. I already did that. The personal consumption expenditure has fallen from a high of 7.1 2 years ago to 2.5 in June. Wow. That's a pretty big number. The decline has occurred in stages. Price increases for goods from electronics to used cars were the first to slow. Yeah, I noticed that TVs were starting to become cheaper than groceries as demand for those products eased and supply chains improved following pandemic disruptions. Inflation for services, everything from haircuts to car repairs, childcare, and hotel stays, took longer to moderate, but has also improved. That partly reflects a slowdown in wage growth. No shit. Again, who's that hurt? I love how they... Again, Wall Street Journal knows their clientele because, again, us plebeians, how dare we even think about slowing wage growth and possibly going, hey, but you guys are talking about how you guys have, like, record profits and your stocks are through the roof and, whatever, to the moon, right? Is that still a thing? I mean, Bitcoin conference was a thing, so... I'm sure that, no, whatever. Recent earnings reports suggest that American corporations are enjoying less pricing power as consumers tighten their belts. It's almost like we figured out you were screwing us. Again, you can't have your earnings reports coming out publicly and then having, blaming inflation for a slowing economy, but then you're like, oh man, look at all our profits. We did so well. Give us a high five. Man. Price growth could continue to slow if competition heats up among businesses. Oh, so it almost incentivizes, monopolies. Weird. Based on the CPI and a separate index of wholesale prices released Tuesday, economists expect the core PCE index rose by between 0.1 and 0.2% in July. That could keep that measure of the 12-month inflation rate close to 2.6, where it was in June. So we can expect inflation to pretty much remain flat. That could keep the measure of the 12-month inflation rate. When did they start recording the 12-month inflation rate? Was that what happened in April? Again. Well, I did it. I read that just for you guys. Look at this woman buying eggs. I'm sure that she's choosing eggs because the bacon is just too expensive. It's up over 75%. There's no way that this woman can afford the bacon. So she just goes for eggs, making omelets, not making omelets. Maybe only using cheese, but perhaps the cheese is too expensive too. I don't know. When's the last time that you think that guy actually looked at a grocery aisle? Do you think he ever has? Do you think that man's ever actually been in a grocery store that wasn't at a campaign event? I mean, just for real. Let's not forget that this man was a New York elitist. So, sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tirade about Mr. Trump. I don't know why I called him Mr. Trump. Anyway, I feel a little bit better about the economy. And it's not just this article. It's literally kind of just what I'm seeing with my own wallet and where I'm spending. I love how they're doing this really weaselly thing where McDonald's and the fast food joints that were totally raking us over the coals there because again record profits. So there's literally cost of meat, cost of blah blah blah. But it's listen, that worked during COVID, that worked during like the supply chain disruptions. But right now, what you're doing is you're just arbitrarily raising prices. And then, funny enough, when they do need to raise prices on things like because of, bird flu and the egg shortage, they had a hard time with that. They couldn't just go, oh, well, we need to make this Egg McMuffin, $7 instead of, the 4 or 5 that it already is. Again, the fact that they're charging that much is just, it's insane. So they're just like, yeah, we're going to make $5 meals again. It's just like, you should have... Let's be real with how much, like, we're not taking into account how much waste there is in the food industry. So there's also that, where it's kind of like, you guys stopped doing the deals, and then, you're complaining about, oh, we have too much product we're throwing out. We're throwing out, chicken nuggets left and right. It's like, well, yeah, because you're charging freaking $7 for a 10-piece. What are you doing? Like, and this is just for the fast food industry. This isn't even like, again, groceries, where I have noticed my bill has been coming down more and more. And then it's just like, oh, well, is that because of where I'm shopping and the discounts? Because that's how most Americans have been doing this now. It's the same with, like, if any of you are going to a gas station and you don't have gas rewards, that, like, what are you doing? Like, I feel bad for you if you are not offered gas rewards. But, I'm sure that, Buc-ee's and Wawa and all these other national places, Casey's, they all do it. So I can't imagine that not being a thing. Quick Trip. You can tell that I've been around the country. And because I've been around the country, I kind of have an idea of the just material economic conditions of America. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and comment if you find this interesting. Or if you just, overall hate my takes, go ahead and tell me how much you hate them. Because, hey, I'll read it. So, I really do appreciate you guys checking this out. I'm going to do a few more dives into the economy, even though I'm not an economist. Do not take, if I happen to give any advice, it's a joke. Don't take anything you hear on this channel as economic advice, because it is not economic advice. I am just covering these stories. So, again, thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one.